Has PSPC been outright banned from, has PSPC outright banned GC Strategies from receiving any and all government contracts?
So we have two tools that we use. Thank you very much for the question. One is a procurement stop work order for 180 days. So that's in place across the system. And we have a second tool, which is a heavy hammer in terms of security. So if you don't hold a security, you can't do business. So both tools are in place. So right now we're working across the system to terminate contracts and no new work.
So is that a pause or is that a prohibition? Let's just use plain language so that people understand.
No, I'm just putting it in place in my head. The suspension, and I'll learn here, is a prohibition until further notice. If there's more information that's forthcoming, if
that's
the RCMP invocation, well, I mean, it can't be into, for all intents and purposes, it can't be into perpetuity without some type of recourse. So we consider them suspensions, and there would have to be a very high response to get it back. It seems very doubtful at this stage, but I'm going to turn it again to Dominique.
I'm just happy to add very quickly on that. So they're currently suspended for 180 days. At the same time, we are seriously looking at termination. So basically, we want to make sure that those decisions are not made lightly. So we want to make sure that I do receive evidence eventually from my colleagues, that we're going to be taking that into account. And if the grounds are sufficient for termination, if it's basically it validates the grounds that we had for the suspension, we'll proceed with the termination.
Let me run something by you, very specifically in the case of GC Strategies. We had the principal for GC Strategies, Mr. Firth, at a parliamentary committee. The testimony, I'm certain that you're privy to, you've seen it, where he admitted to falsifying information that he used to win a bid. He lied, and he admitted that at committee. And so whether or not the RCMP can use that in a criminal investigation, separate question, but can PSPC use it? He admitted to fraudulent activity in order to win bids for the government from the government of Canada. Is that not enough? And he also has been caught multiple times objectively lying to a parliamentary committee. But is fraud and forgery not sufficient grounds to ban, to blacklist, to have a prohibition in perpetuity for a contractor when we're talking about tax dollars?
If I may, thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. What is said and also in front of committee, we have to be careful with that. So it does not necessarily, can we transpose that and use that? Again, I would say we start with the suspension. The desired effect is accomplished. Basically, the company can no longer secure any government contracts, can no longer do business. And we take the time because we want to make it right. If we're going to be terminating, we want to make sure that the supplier is not able to come back and allege grounds that for whatever reason, this person was not properly terminated. So.
Mr. Laporte?
They're not being paid, to my knowledge, they're not being paid by PSPC for any contract that is being done.
Do they have any contracts with the Government of Canada, any ongoing contracts with Social Sciences and Humanity Research Council of Canada, for example?
There was a call-out that was done by TBS, and it did not indicate that there was any outstanding contract with them or payment that were being made.
So you're confirming today that GC Strategies has no ongoing business with the Government of Canada?
This is my understanding, and I would be pleased to validate that with the committee.
So you'll validate that. You'll report back to the committee, but we'll take your answer at face value.
Cool. This guy's a straight shooter.
Thank you, just Mr. Barrett. So the committee looks forward for that validation. I appreciate your answer today. It was a request, and you acknowledged you could validate that. We look forward to that. Thank you. Mr. Barrett, you have a minute, 5 seconds.
How many instances or contracts did GC Strategies use false information in order to win the bids?
Thank you very much for the question. We actually, I think, at request of OGO, looked at 2 areas of all active contracts with the 3 suppliers in terms of their security and their CVs. And in fact, Catherine's shop led the investigation.
Merci beaucoup. Tel que l'a mentionné.
Thank you very much. As the Deputy Minister mentioned, we conducted due diligence as soon as this matter was brought to our attention, and we worked with departments and agencies that are active contracts with them to assess 2 things in particular. Did those individuals have the proper security clearance to work on these contracts? and were they who they claimed to be? We also worked with companies, suppliers to provide CVs, and those CVs were shared with departments and agencies in order to ensure that they were properly categorized and that they had the requisite levels.
Ma'am, I appreciate the process. I'm looking for a number of occurrences.
Lors de ce processus.
During that verification process that started in the recent months.
Next is Ms. Bradford. You have the floor for...
We didn't get the full
point of order.
translation there.
Just 1 second, Ms. Bradford.
Yes. The response from the witness was not captured in interpretation.
Oh.
So if we could have it, the completeness of her answer was not captured. So if she could restate and we could have it
Sure.
Translated, I'd
Very
look
good.
forward to that response.
That is. Would you mind just repeating that en français ou en anglais, c'est votre choix. Puis we'll just make sure that the translation is working.
Aucun problème.
No problems whatsoever, Mr. Chairperson. So I conclude my response by saying that the verification of security clearances and CVs of the resources provided by the suppliers demonstrated no exceptions that would warrant intervening in the contracting process. The interpreter would point out that the microphone was switched off.